Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this HidMed Chat, a special info session to bring you a Hoosier vaccine update for people in Indianapolis, Indiana. My name is Dr. Neecey Hudson, Chair and Science Director of Hood Medicine.
I'm Jonathan White, co-founder and Director of Policy.
Doug Slaughter, the Public Health Director.
Hood Medicine Initiative is a collective of scientists, physicians, hackers, and assorted geeks focused on addressing health disparities in Black and Brown communities.
Hood Med Chats, our signature event, is an effort to bring the expertise of healthcare professionals and others to those communities. Our goal is simple: help us, save us.
We are excited to host this panel today, which was put together by Indianapolis firm Herd Strategies as a part of their commitment to herd the help to those who need it the most during this pandemic crisis. So joining us today, we have Dr. Virginia Kane, one of the top doctors for infectious diseases in the United States. She is the Director and Chief Medical Officer of the Marion County Public Health Department here in Indianapolis, and an Indiana University Bicentennial Professor, where she serves as an Associate Professor of Medicine at the School of Medicine and Infectious Diseases Division. She served as the president for American Public Health Association, and she received the BioCrossroads August M. Watanabe Life Sciences Champion of the Year Award in 2017. And then last year in Indianapolis, the Indianapolis Business Journal named her as one of the 40 most influential people in the past 40 years as part of their 40 Years in Progress Indianapolis celebration. And more importantly, she's another one of the trusted community voices we feature to help our people understand what's going on and how to keep our loved ones safe. She's a leader in the pandemic response, and she serves as a chair of the National Medical Association Infectious Diseases section, the co-chair of their HIV and AIDS section, and she's a member of the COVID-19 task force. She's a member of the Indiana COVID vaccine allocation and distribution work group, and she's a board member of the CDC Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report. It's a long bio, but I'm gonna give her flowers. She's also a past member of the National Biodefense Science Board, which provides the guidance to the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And she's a pillar of our community. So it's an honor to have you here, Dr. Kane.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hudson. I'm just honored to be on your show, my gosh.
Inez Evans is the president and CEO of IndyGo, the largest public transportation provider in the state of Indiana. She has diligently focused on operational efficiencies and building programs that support public transit employees' growth and development. She has led several successful transportation initiatives across the country, including installation of bus rapid transit service, BRT, and master planning for 100% fleet electrification. Evans has an MBA in management from Western International University and a Bachelor's of Science in Business Management from the University of Phoenix. Thank you so much for joining us, Mrs. Evans. We're so thankful to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be asked to be a part of this discussion.
And we have Dr. Eric Yancey, a dedicated pediatrician who has been practicing in the inner city of Indianapolis for over 30 years. Dr. Yancey began his practice as a resident in the Newborn Intensive Care Unit of Indiana University Medical Center, James Whitcomb Riley Hospital for Children. He was the first African-American resident at that hospital. He was named Chief Resident of Pediatrics in 1979. He's the Adjunct Clinical Assistant Professor of Pediatrics at Indiana University School of Medicine and a fierce advocate for the health and wellness of his community. And little known fact, he is also an accomplished singer who recently performed the national anthem at the Final Four NCAA tournament in Indianapolis. Thank you, Dr. Yancey, for being here.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. So Inez, I wanted to start with you and have you just kind of brief us on the new vaccination center and how IndyGo has worked with the Marion County Health Department to ensure accessibility via the bus transit system.
We're just so excited about this partnership with the Marion County Health Department. We purchased a brand new facility about 6 months ago, and when the opportunity to step up was presented, we were raising our hands. So our bus 87 I think you have a graphic that kind of shows our route. It will actually bring you directly down to our facility. You don't have to transfer, you don't have to do anything. It will drop you right off at the front door. Buses come every 15 minutes. You can call our customer service number at 317-635-3344 to be able to understand how to use the service if you've never used this before, or go on our website and look at the Route 87 on our maps for stop information.
I have that pulled up. I don't know how many people have been, but there's actually a link that will drop in the chat for this IndyGo COVID vaccine website. It gives you the address, and then you can just scroll down and click on schedule your vaccine appointment. And then it will take you to the COVID website for Indiana. And then you can just click to sign up and put in your information to get registered. So we will leave that phone number in the chat as well for anyone who wants to check that out. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Dr. Caine, we wanted to bring you into the conversation and kind of help us understand a little bit about locally.
Yes, Dr. Caine, could you tell us a little bit about the landscape? To talk to us about the impact of the pandemic in Indianapolis and surrounding areas, especially as it pertains to Black and Brown communities with respect to health disparities.
There's no doubt that Black and our Brown communities have been disproportionately impacted by this COVID-19 pandemic, which is why our $1 million COVID Community Recovery Grant Program requested applications that focuses on uplifting these community members. Now, Marion County is currently seeing a positivity rate above 5%. We say 5% is that gold standard. If you're 5% or less, you have very minimum community spread. But we're above 5%. We're sort of in the range of 6%. But our 7-day average of daily case numbers is starting to see a decline at about 159 cases from about 175 cases from last week. But over the last few weeks, our Black and Latino residents have seen 17 new cases, COVID cases per 100,000 residents, compared with just 9 cases per 100,000 residents if you were white. So we're almost twice the number of new cases occurring compared to our white counterparts. And that's why it's just so critical that we get our COVID-19 vaccine. And while we're trying to work very hard to make this vaccine more accessible to every member of our community through this partnership with IndyGo.
That's amazing.
Yes, Dr. Caine, can you let our audience know the important details on registration, eligibility, hours of operation, how the site will help close the gaps in vaccination progress for minority communities in Indianapolis?
So let me just first starting out by saying that the health department only had one vaccination site that was on the west side. But we have a call center, and we kept getting repeated calls saying, when are you going to have a site that will reach us so that we don't have to have a long period of time for transportation? So we got repeated calls related to that. And so we were just so excited in order to close this gap that this partnership with IndyGo provides direct access by Route 87 to this location has just been tremendous. And we know it because when we're all of a sudden vaccinating as many as 900 people a day, you could tell there was a major need here. So to register at this site, you can register by visiting ourshot.in.gov. And then you want to select the Marion County IndyGo JVAX location. Let me repeat this again. by visiting ourshot.in.gov and selecting where you say Marion County IndyGo J vaccination location, or you can call 211. Now, I should mention that while pre-registration is recommended, we do take walk-ins, okay, we're at this clinic. But at this particular clinic, residents must be 18 years or older to receive the vaccinations. And we offer the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccinations at this site. Our clinic is open on Tuesdays from 10 to 6, Wednesday and Thursday from 11 to 7 p.m., Friday from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., and on Saturday from 9 to 1 p.m. So we think the hours we have open are very important. So if you can't leave work, you can come here after work or during the day. We're open till 7 p.m. Or you can come on a Saturday to receive what we consider a life-saving protection from this COVID-19 vaccine.
Dr. Caine, has there been any thought given to how we address the barrier of having like a valid ID to be vaccinated for those communities who, may not have access to an issued state ID? Is there like a workaround?
So yes, so we have a workaround. So we kind of ask that, if you're employed, can you bring a statement or an ID card from your employment, or maybe let's just say you rent, if you can bring a utility bill with your name, or maybe you attend a faith-based organization and you may be able to have a statement from your pastor or some business owner to say that you are a resident of this site. But we don't want to have any, especially for our undocumented individuals, we do not want you ever turned away because you don't have a social security card, you don't have an Indiana state driver's license or identification card. But just something to let us know that it's important for us that you kind of reside in our community. But I will say this, the state of Indiana has opened up our vaccination sites. Even if you don't live in the state of Indiana, you can come get vaccinated at our sites. So if you got a brother or a relative or a best friend outside the state of Indiana, you can come and get vaccinated by us.
You know what I love about this, Dr. Caine? You all are taking a very holistic approach to the issue of getting people vaccinated. The fact that you are addressing the issues of folks who may be undocumented and may feel insecure in approaching, government facilities. The fact that you're addressing issues with folks who may not have typical, identification processes. Those are things that we have to take into account if we really want to address the lack of people getting vaccinated in this country.
So thank you.
Yeah, Inez, can you give us an overview of which areas of the town and which bus routes go to this location to help walk us through planning your trip to the vaccination site?
Yeah, going back to the graphic that you guys put up earlier at the beginning of the discussion, the bus 87 is the route that goes to the site. Again, it's shown right there on, it focuses on Post Road, down through Midhofer, over through Washington. And, it's a very quick route. It comes about every 15 minutes and it'll bring you right to the front door. So if you're a person with a disability or elderly, it's going to bring you right to the front door. And remember, all of our buses are ADA accessible. So they have wheelchair ramps. So you can get your wheelchairs and mobility devices on board our vehicles.
Awesome.
So.
Amazing. And so that's and because it's on the line, like it's not just accessible to people on the east side, though it's most
No.
convenient. It's accessible to anyone, right? So
Exactly. And I think that's a great point, Doctor. You can use our trip planning tools on our website or just simply call our customer service line at 317-635-3344. And our team will help you navigate which buses to take at your particular location to get you to where you need to go as well.
Awesome. I thought I would take a quick minute to just give a brief overview of the basics of the virus and talk a little about the vaccines to help people understand why they should take advantage of this amazing program and go get vaccinated. So I'm just going to cover briefly the virus, the vaccines, and a little bit on mutant variants and herd immunity, which is what makes this so important to our community and indeed the global community. So SARS-CoV-2 is a coronavirus, which we've talked about before. COVID-19 is the disease that it causes. Like a lot of other viruses, it has a protein bubble. Inside this particular one is a piece of RNA, which is kind of like DNA, but it's just single-stranded. And so it's a very simple organism. It's not, doesn't have its own cell mechanisms like we do to reproduce. That's why it needs a host. It's just a protein bubble with a piece of RNA inside. And then outside are the spike proteins, which is sort of the viral ID card. It's what your system like checks when it encounters it to see like what it is. And in this case, it's the spike protein that gives the most information to your immune system about what the virus is and what you should use to fight it off. And then ACE2, which we've heard a lot about, is a receptor on a lot of the cells that we have in our body, and it matches up to the spike protein like a key fits a lock, right? And, you know, it attaches almost everywhere because we have ACE2 receptors all over our body, and our lungs, our heart, kidneys, even in your fat tissue, and you know, like a lot of places that you wouldn't imagine. So that's why we're seeing like disparate sort of effects of people who have you know, multiple organ failure and permanent damage to multiple organ systems because those locks are all over. And like they say, you know, keys open doors, right? So when the virus finds the receptor, it sticks to it and catches a free ride inside of your cell. And then once it gets in there, it's, you know, it's like, it's a wrap. You know, it takes your copy machine essentially to make its copies. And then the next thing you know, your cells are working for the virus to make new virus copies instead of making the things that your genetic code wants to make for the function of your body. And then you become a host factory where new viral particles exit the cell and come out through your breath and mucus. And like I said, viruses need hosts to survive. And this particular virus is so thankful that we keep giving them to it. So for the vaccines, how this starts to turn the tide is that same, you know, spike protein, you know, that your immune system will check is what we're using to sort of target the vaccine in order to make sure that your body knows what COVID is. So your body produces antibodies that match up again to the spike protein. And it's kind of like training your body to be like a good bouncer. So, you know, the antibodies stick to the COVID particle, kind of like sets it up for the assassins that they come in and do their work, eliminating the virus. And so you're really training like the bouncers at your facility to make sure that they know who to kick out, essentially. For the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine, which are mRNA vaccines, these are kind of like cheat codes that give your cells the short genetic code to make like a little piece of the spike protein so that you can make those matching antibodies to fight off infection. And then the J&J is more a viral vaccine, a viral vector vaccine. So it's like a Trojan horse that kind of uses a harmless engineered virus to sneak those cheat codes inside and then induce that matching antibody production. And then when you get that injection in your arm, the muscle cells download the cheat code and then they like throw a huge party on top of your cell. And then all of the cells, the assassins, all the people that work in the hub and keep all the files on the villain, all of those people come to the party, they make matching antibodies to kill the virus. And then the next time you get infected, because it's a vaccine, so you're prepping your body for the next time you get infected, you'll have what you need to fight it off and avoid serious infection. And actually for some of these vaccines, they're also preventing transmission pretty well. Also, quickly on herd immunity, here's the thing. Our immune systems never met COVID, right? They just started infecting the human species in 2019, hence the name. And so none of your cells knew what it was, right? Like we all are new to COVID. COVID is new to us, although we're doing a great job of giving it all of the education it needs to mutate and evolve quicker than it ever would, because we can't stand to not go to the party. But since your body has never heard of COVID, it doesn't have any antibodies against it, right? So when you're in a crowd or like a herd of people with no immunity, if one person is infected, it's really easy for the virus to spread among the group, which is why the entire globe is red. But when the majority of that crowd or that herd is vaccinated, it's much harder for the virus to spread among the group. And I guess to be clear, we're not talking about the virus as in COVID necessarily. We've already spread that, congratulations. What we're really concerned about now is the mutant variants. And so the sooner we all get vaccinated, the harder it'll be for those mutant variants to spread amongst us and get smarter and deadlier and more contagious. We're not there yet. We need to vaccinate 80% of the global population. Why? Because we haven't closed the airports, we haven't closed the ports. Nobody wants to sit down and not go out and eat. So we need everyone on the world to get vaccinated. And we're only up to about 20%. So it's gonna take a while for us to get to that place where, life isn't going back to normal, let's be clear, not the normal that we knew. That's life. We allowed the virus to evolve quick enough to, debilitate everything because we don't want to listen to restrictions and, recommendations. And so now we have mutant variants that are spreading like wildfire. We'll need boosters down the line this year, which are in clinical development right now to fight those mutant variants. We'll have to be careful for a long time. So these are the reasons why we're here. We want you to understand the virus, we want you to understand the vaccines, and then we want you to go get one. And we have these amazing community partners like IndyGo and Marion County Health Department who have put all these programs in place in order to make vaccination more accessible to our communities.
Now to our favorite pediatrician, Dr. Eric Yancey. Could you help us understand the importance of our community getting vaccinated, especially with Monday's announcement of the FDA EUA or emergency use authorization of the Pfizer vaccine for kids between 12 and 15 years old? How will kids' vaccination program contribute to getting schools open in the fall?
Well, thanks very much for having me. I just wanted to throw out, those great graphics. I love those. Okay.
Thanks.
Me too. I thought they were great too.
Thank you.
I gotta borrow them, Dr. Hudson.
Of course.
Great.
I'm happy to send them to you. Yeah.
One of the early messages was that, it doesn't bother kids. Okay. And first off, we know that's not true. Now, children have not gotten ill to the degree that adults have, and have not had deaths to the degree that adults have. But there are still children that have died from COVID, and nationwide, probably about somewhere between 400 and 500 at this point, purely from COVID, no underlying conditions. And there are also, but the problem is that there are things going on in mildly infected children that are not being picked up until you get a complication. We've read a lot and heard a lot about the MISC, the multi-symptom inflammatory syndrome of childhood, that's really severe. 104 and 5 fevers and organ shutdown and all sorts of things like that. And everybody goes, oh, that's pretty bad. But what we're now seeing is that there are a number of children who are having actually, they're almost like little long haulers. They're having difficulty with endurance. in athletic activities, and these are from mild infections. We're seeing affected heart muscle situations where the children just don't have that endurance they used to have. We're also seeing affected cognitive situations where it's almost like an infectious attention deficit situation where there's certain situations going on in the brain and the children just can't remember like they used to. They can't focus like they used to. So
is that the COVID brain, like COVID fog that people will talk about?
It's that brain fog.
The brain fog.
A brain fog, and it's not so much that you might notice it in just general conversation. When the children try to concentrate on specific tasks, they just can't do it as well. And these were like good students who no longer can hold the thoughts now. And so these are things we have no idea of the magnitude of that, because we really don't. There's a lot of children that we either didn't get picked up because they were mildly symptomatic or asymptomatic. So we have no idea, but we know that it's probably occurring at a magnitude way past what we actually diagnosing, because there are things that are subtle. So I think that this emergency use authorization for 12 to 15 is a great thing, because as was mentioned earlier, we don't want the children to act like little harbors where actually the virus can just train itself, okay? Because they keep running around each other. Virus can train itself to get more deadly, come back and kill off everybody else. So I think it's extremely good, number one, because the children can get sick, have gotten sick, and have died from it. But the other thing, they still can serve as transitioning vectors to where they can still continue to spread it. So to get back into school, we really need to get large numbers of children vaccinated, and so that they have that we dramatically decrease that capacity to spread it. The phenomenon of non-vaccinating or anti-vaccines and whatever is not like totally new, but the magnitude of it is pretty new. I would venture to say that nobody on this program or even listening to this program is worried about catching polio, okay? And the reason is because we vaccinated for it, we have vaccinated for it, and people took the vaccine, okay? Back in my day, you got your little sugar cube, you ate it. None of the parents I know of would have dreamed of not vaccinating their child against polio, okay? So now we have all these things where we say, well, I don't think I want to get that. But I think what we have to look at is that the testing has been incredibly safe, and almost every, and there have been thousands of children who've actually gone through the clinical trials. Almost every side effect you'll see from a vaccine, a serious side effect, you're going to see in the first 2 months. First 2 months is out, that's when you're going to see it. And this has been incredibly safe, incredibly effective. So now our next task is to convince parents that we need to actually get in there and do it. And I know parents are looking out for the welfare of their children, but I want to throw in just one other thing here, and that is to say that we know for a fact that there's something that most children have that is very detrimental. It actually robs them of sleep. It emits low-grade radiation, and they often sleep with it every night under their pillow, okay? And if you try to take it, the child will fight you, okay? And so the parents willingly buy these and give them to their children, okay? And now they tell me that, okay, but I'm not sure what's in it. Well, I can tell you for a fact what's in that phone is damaging your child. I can tell you that, okay? And so I think we have to be logical and say, this thing has been tested, it's safe, we have to protect the children. And some of the arguments that were coming up against the vaccine are just not making a lot of sense. So I'd say that, yes, let's get these children vaccinated, get them back in school. I'm going to shift to one more thing, and that is that the damage being done to the scholastic abilities of the children is just unbelievable. There are educators who say that they probably have not lost 1 year of school. They may have lost 2 or 3, okay, in looking at where they will be and what they know. You just can't do it virtually. It just doesn't work the same. So I'd say, let's get those kids out there. We certainly need to talk about it. Any concerns that they have, we can address those. But I think we have to address them in a logical, let's think about this fashion, because the kids do need it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Yancey. I think helping to ease the fears of parents is going to be an important part of this puzzle as well. I have a follow-up question for you, Dr. Caine. Earlier, you mentioned, you talked to us a little bit about which vaccines you would be administering at the IndyGo site and for which age groups. But can you kind of project how this process will be a little bit different for parents interested in registering their kids, ages 12 to 15 for vaccination? Is there any special instructions you would have for them?
So let me just say that today, actually at CDC, the Federal Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, is called ACIP, will be making a final decision about approving the Pfizer vaccine for those children ages 12 to 15. And we do know that the state, Indiana State Department of Health, on their site, www.coronavirus.in.gov/vaccine site, indicates that the new recommendations for this approval are expected from CDC today. And if they are approved today, the state of Indiana is saying that they will be opening eligibility for anyone 12 years and older starting tomorrow morning, Thursday morning. So if you have a child from 12 to 15, you can already get vaccinated as low as 16 and 17 years of age. But Pfizer will be approved today. They'll be eligible for tomorrow. Now, we have to say that we saw for the IndyGo site that they're administering Moderna, which is you have to be 18 and older, or the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So for this newly approved age group, the locations in the city we can direct their parents so far for the Pfizer vaccines is that you can go to our commercial drive site, which is on the west side, 3685 Commercial Drive, where parents, guardians, family members that are adults over the age of 18 can bring their 12 to 15-year-olds to the health department, Westside Clinic, and you can pre-registration. We hope you do, is recommended. So that means ourshot.in.gov is recommended, but don't forget, all walk-ins are welcome. So we're also going to be trying to work with local communities, especially school districts and community partners, to set up a special vaccination date events for the 12 to 15-year-olds. So expect details to be announced soon. But we're going to be trying to work with at least a minimum of 3 school districts, have a mass vaccination event, trying to vaccinate over 1,000 children in the coming weeks. So I'm like Eric, I'm very excited about the 12 to 15-year-olds being possibly eligible, and we think it's going to happen today because, young people in this age group, they can show no symptoms, all right? So they're efficient spreaders. And so by vaccinating those 12 to 15-year-olds, we're not only protecting our community, young people, but we're also protecting every person that child may interact. And so now, and I'm sure Eric may mention this, we've heard some vaccine hesitancy regarding from some parents about vaccinating their children. They think that it is a risk. But what I can tell you in a pandemic, your greater risk is not choosing this vaccine and being exposed to the harm of our new emerging virulent, more deadly strains that is mutating on a daily basis of the coronavirus. So the earlier you can get that vaccine, the more protected your children are, but other family members and friends and peers.
Let me throw in one quick thing, and that is that as we approach like the summer and the fall and going back to school, we want the parents to make sure that this recommendation that there should be a 2-week window from that vaccine to others. So as we get now other shots going, We recommend you're not getting your COVID vaccine shorter than 2 weeks from your last vaccine, or wait 2 weeks to get it on the other. So that's not a problem in adults, because most adults are not getting vaccinated for anything. But in children, we want to separate that by 2 weeks on either side, just to make sure. Another thing, as was mentioned, Dr. Caine was saying, the viruses are generally pretty smart. If the parents can think of the viruses as being smart, and what they couldn't do at first, they will find a way to do it. So if you look back to the old SARS, the old one from 2002.
Right.
Yeah,
2003, I think, or something like that.
It was kind of dumb. It was kind of dumb. It would make you very sick pretty quick, and so you could actually shield yourself from it. The next one comes along and says, we're gonna lay low longer than that. So we're gonna get smarter, so they can transmit us, and not know that they're sick. So the viruses will find a way to be more deadly and more contagious to children. So the thing to do is get rid of it. The viruses, they're incredibly smart. You have to think of them as an evil genius, because that's what they are. So we want the parents to know, just because it's not happening now doesn't mean it won't happen later on. And we got to get a level of care and protection for these kids, because otherwise it's going to be a problem.
I love the evil genius analogy.
I did too. I thought that's great.
Yeah.
I appreciate, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I appreciate you giving us that context, because I don't think most parents are even going to be considering the fact that they may have to get their children vaccinated for other things coming into the fall. And this will take an extra step of pre-planning if they're interested in doing this.
A follow-up for you, Dr. Caine. So the CDC recently released some revisions to their social distancing guidelines. Could you touch on how we can start safely and cautiously making changes to our social bubble practices following a full course of vaccination?
So let me just say, CDC put out some interim public health recommendations for fully vaccinated people. And I'm really quite excited about this new update, because it underscores that the COVID vaccine is our route back to normalcy. So the new guidelines state that if you're fully vaccinated, you can begin participating in outdoor activities, such as attending small outdoor gatherings, or dining at an outdoor restaurant with people from different households without having to wear a mask. So you can have these small, if you're vaccinated, so you can go have small indoor or small outdoor gatherings without wearing a mask. Now, I should note that the CDC is recommending that masks continue to be worn during indoor activities outside of your household until more of the population is vaccinated. So if you're having indoor activities in your house, but you're inviting people that are not vaccinating, no, that's not what we want. But you can have small gatherings inside your house as long as you're inviting people who are fully vaccinated. When I say fully vaccinated, so if you have a Pfizer or Moderna vaccine, you require 2 shots, and you have to go at least 2 weeks after the second shot to develop ample sufficient antibodies to be fully immunized. If you got the 1-shot vaccine like Johnson & Johnson, such as myself, 2 weeks after that 1-shot vaccination will have you fully immunized. So just come to our 9503 East 33rd Street site here, IndyGo partnership, to get your COVID-19 vaccine so we can all get back. Hey, I need to get back to my summer activities. I need a little bit more fun here, so I need some help from my friends.
It is. That's a great segue, actually. I want to ask you, we live in a society where oftentimes folks that look like us don't often get to use, the infrastructure of this country and the systems in this country for our personal benefit. So for you, how does it feel to be able to make use of this large infrastructure to protect folks that look like you?
Oh, let me say this. Well, I think she's still okay. I gotta thank Inez Evans, okay, and that entire IndyGo team, let me tell you, for their partnership, not only in being able to create direct access to this clinic on Route 87, but they allowed us to repurpose this space, their location, to ensure that our community members were able to have a life-saving vaccine. And this is a gorgeous place. It's just beautiful. Recently renovated. So what's not to like? And what's not to have when you got great partners such as IndyGo? Yeah. And the fact that they rerouted their buses so people can be dropped off if you're disabled, you can't walk long distances. They have now made that route where people are being dropped off right in front of the vaccine site. And this bus is running every 15 minutes. You just can't. I wish other partners would fall from the sky like they did and made it happen very quickly, very rapidly. When I tell you that it only took us weeks, less than a month, identify this site, work through all the logistics and have this place running, that's a partner that, they don't know it that yet, but they stuck with us for life, okay?
That's awesome. So
I got you, Dr. Caine.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Inez?
I think Dr. Caine hit on so many things. When we looked at our partnership with them, it was, that accessibility for our community was just so crucial. We wanted our community, our riders, to be able to get a vaccination. Too many of our vaccination clinics throughout our country have been put forth in a manner that are specifically geared towards motorists, where you can drive to the facility. But as Dr. Caine said earlier, the East Side was just raising their hand and shouting at the top of their lungs, we need help, we want. How could IndyGo not step up? How could we not? It was our duty as a community partner in this city, in Marion County as a whole. We saw a void. And we felt the need to fill it. We were blessed that we were able to find this great facility that is part of our ultimate strategic plan for expanding our organization. And so, sitting around the table was like, let's delay our construction. Let's put IndyGo on hold for right now. We can survive with where we are, but this community needs us and we're going to step up, and we raised our hand. And so it was just important. So we're just happy to have Dr. Caine and her entire team here. And, we're just grinning from ear to ear because it just makes us smile. It just warms our heart that, we're able to just take this facility and just use it for a great purpose, and that we feel we're saving lives.
Amen. Amen to that. Doug, from your perspective as a CDC Foundation epidemiologist, how important will it be to continue improving access to testing, treatment, care, and vaccinations throughout this crisis?
Well, first of all, it's imperative that we continue to do it, right? I love the evil genius analogy, but this is also akin to, rolling a really heavy boulder up a hill, and you don't want to take the pressure off before you've gotten there, because then that's how you get run over, right? Or you take backward steps. And that's not what we want to do. So it's imperative that we continue to test, and that we continue to promote vaccination. And it's beyond that, improving access to those things is imperative, because as Dr. Caine was saying earlier, and looking at recently the almost double amount of cases in Black and Brown among Black and brown individuals compared to whites, it's important that we don't get left behind, right? And so that's why the access piece is imperative, which makes this partnership, so amazing, because it helps to improve that access.
One thing that we wanted to do, what we love to do before we close, is to just ask all of you to give us your information, or give us your sort of perspective and your message to our communities, and why this is so important, how high the stakes are, and how desperately we need to take it seriously. I want to start with you, Inez, if you don't mind.
I think it's so crucial that we understand the needs and what's going on in our community when it comes to accessibility and how it is affecting Black and brown individuals within our community. I'll just put it simply that it was important for IndyGo to put our actions into words. We can sit here and have lip service, but let our actions speak for ourselves. And we wanted to be a part of the solution to be able to save lives in our community and not just sit on the sidelines.
Dr. Caine, do you want to go next and offer some perspective on?
Well, let me just say that COVID-19 vaccines are free. They're safe and effective, and it's our community's route to more freedom and safety. And as people of color, we need to think about how we save ourselves. And vaccines are going to give us that hope at the end of this tunnel, okay? So, and we can't be blinded by the light, okay, by that light at the end of a pandemic tunnel. So we have to remember about the mask. We have to remember about distancing, but we really have to also consider vaccinating more of our residents so that we can return to normalcy. Mm-hmm. And every single one of these COVID-19 vaccines, they are tested vigorously, okay? They undergo rigorous testing, and they prove to not only be safe, but they're also highly effective at preventing hospitalizations and deaths. But I am again have to extend my thanks to IndyGo, Ms. Inez Evans, for helping us have a site that's more accessible to the people that we really need to reach, and to know that they deserve resources too, like everybody in this community. Mm-hmm. And these are resources that are top-notch, high quality, that anyone would love to come and receive these services. So look at the dynamic too. Marion County Public Health Department and IndyGo. New things to happen in the future now. And just special kudos to my partner, Dr. Eric Yancey. Got to be one of the best pediatricians in the country. And oh my God, my heart just, when he sung that anthem at the Final Four for NCAA, I said, Lord, he's got a new profession now. We got to watch him. He was too good. Okay.
Thank you very much. Can I just throw in something real quick?
Yes.
Real quickly. I'll decide. I don't know how much time is left, so I'll speak quickly. I want to talk to the parents and say that vaccine hesitancy is across the board. We understand that. We understand something that is, quote, relatively new. You need the information about it. That's vaccine hesitancy. I want you to ask questions. I want you to better keep an open mind when the questions are answered. But I think we cannot afford to be double victimized. We've already been victimized years ago. We can't afford to be double victimized. There's a difference between vaccine hesitancy and vaccine resistance. Okay, but I will say that the vaccine resistance movement or anti-vaccine movement largely took root in this fellow named Andrew Wakefield, okay, who basically had some fraudulent data. And the larger impetus behind that was from, and you can look it up and I'll stand by what I say, is high income earning, aristocratic areas in the white community, okay? That's who the biggest anti-vaccine people are. And so you must ask yourself, why then would this group be so resistant to vaccines? And it stems from, in interviews, that they do not want to be told what to do. We cannot allow individuals who say, nobody's going to tell me what to do, to interfere with our ability to stay alive. Okay, and so when you look at you got to look at the roots of where did the anti-vaccine movement come from. Look at those roots and Google it, Andrew Wakefield, and you'll see that the fraudulent data has cost the lives of many children in this country. And we cannot afford to be double victimized in that way, victimized with being underserved, and now victimized with not taking advantage of what we should be taking advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. This was just remarkable. I have to just say thank you to everyone here. Inez Evans, IndyGo CEO, Dr. Virginia Kane of the Marion County Health Department, and America's pediatrician, Dr. Yancey. Doug, did you have anything that you wanted to follow up with before we head out?
Well, I just wanted to thank everyone for sharing their thoughts. And, I think Dr. Yancey gave a great final summation of the importance of addressing hesitancy. This is also important because, as the virus mutates, that begets the need for these booster shots that you've been hearing about. And so one way or another, we have to help people to heal themselves, so to speak. So, that's all.
Help us, help us. Yeah, thank you again to everyone. And thank you to those folks who've tuned in live to this and the folks who will see this streaming. At Hood Medicine, we want to bring you trusted individuals to provide you with the facts and information to allow you to make the decisions necessary to keep you and your family safe. Remember, vaccine hesitancy is fine to ask questions, but vaccine resistance is what's going to harm our families. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to support our effort, donate to our cause, and to find out about our next events. You can visit us at hoodmedicine.org, at hood_medicine on Instagram or Twitter, and Hood Medicine Initiative, all one word, on Facebook. Thank you again to everyone. Stay safe, mask up, and get vaccinated, please. Thank you and take care.